Hey everybody. Well, we're gonna jump in and we're gonna look at some things about the Real O2 and the Real Fuel mods, and basically kind of cover some. I'm gonna call them do's and don'ts, but just some things to look out for, and then how I treat the mods and how I kind of account for certain shortcomings and certain things that you will encounter when you add them to your mod list or add them to your game. Okay, so I picked a higher level character to kind of look at these mods with. Uh, this character, level 87, pretty not pretty far. You can see we're into the unknown with this character. As far as completed items, we've completed uh excuse me. We completed quite a bit. We completed quite a bit of the I think we completed pretty much the entirety of the UC quest line, delivering devils, and then you can see the hammer falls. So we completed much of the um Rangers quest line, and then we completed the old neighborhood and one small step. So one small step is the origin or tutorial quest line, and then what the old neighborhood is the one that gets everything going. So as a matter of fact, we've actually, if I'm not mistaken, see, we've completed in memoriam also and commitment with Sarah. So we're married to Sarah at this point. So we're not deep into everything, but we've completed enough, as you can see, to do most things. The gear that we're sporting, I believe, most likely was what we were given when we went to Londinium to get the Terramorph samples, and we just haven't gotten anything better. Okay, so this is our ship, and it is the Celestial with we've modded up, right, and tweaked out a little bit. So you can see our cargo. We haven't done the Ramtech mod quest. So this is all in-game tweaks and mods and nothing from that particular, with all the different microbots and things like that. So we got 7,000 shielded capacity, 14,000 total cargo capacity. We have 630 units of fuel capacity. We are full at this time. Our reactor's a B reactor with 49 power, and our shields actually 85 80 for our shields, but I think that comes with the um, perks that we've taken for shields as well. I believe we're boosting shields by, if not 100%, 60% at least. So that is the ship that we're rocking at this point. So right now, I do want to point out 630 is our fuel capacity. All right, perks wise. So you can see, and real quick here, with the ships, we are 3 out of 4 tiers. So we are getting 60% increased shield capacity over what we normally would have. We have a B class license. We just paid 80,000 for that license because of um, the spacefaring economy mod. Security, we're all the way maxed out on it, even though I usually don't. And the reason being is the last one. Hacking does not expend a digipick. If I was doing everything manually, I probably wouldn't see a problem keeping that. But with the digipick skip mod, right now, this is just here, open it, and there's no cost of anything to open it. You're just opening it. So you can see we have some mods that we do need to get this one selected at some point. We do have this one, another anatronic fusion, right? That does help with our fusion or extra power, units of power, right? We're maxed out with rifles and ballistics. And you can see we are also maxed out with health. We are working our way through weightlifting. We do have concealment and second skin. Let's see. And then we are working on the third tier of stealth. Okay. So one of the things, or a few of the things that we're going to be looking at here real quick is that I want to show you the do's and don'ts for is when you first decide I'm going to put on real O2 and real fuel. For real O2, the first things you're going to want to do is get into a workbench. We've already done this, but there are 3 things that you must have right off the bat, okay? And we can't make a whole lot of these things, but I've already made it. All right, so emergency reserve. Now you can see I can make a ton of these, but I don't want to expend too much stuff because each one is going to weigh 9 mass, right? So 9 kilos each. I have 3. I'm going to make 1 more, right? And then you come down, and unfortunately, there's a ton of stuff you got to sort through, but you want 1 of those, and then we can't make another, but I've already made 1. You need 1 of these. So as much as your carry weight will allow is what you want with the emergency kit that you do, because that one is replenishing your O2 to your suit. The purge valve is going to release the built up CO2 that your suit gets when you're out in 0 oxygen atmosphere. All right, so you definitely want to make those 2 here. Okay, now the third thing that I'm talking about, we can't make here, but if you can get to a pharmaceutical lab, you would want to create, and as you can see under consumable, all 3 of these exist. So I have 4 emergency reserves, right? So I can replenish my O2 4 times. Okay, that's it. But right now that's taking up 40 of my carry weight right there. And then we have what's called Heliox. You can make those at the pharmaceutical labs. What they do is reduce how much oxygen you use, right? Now, if you really exert yourself, it overrides this stuff. But normal physical, stress on the body, it'll reduce the amount of oxygen, right? This is when you get to the planet, you say, okay, let me just do this, and I'm going to use less oxygen. I'm going to make sure I have reserves, and then you want to have this, and you can see I have all 3 favorited so that when the time comes, I can purge out that CO2. Now, another thing, once you do that, you want to come over to the bench and you want to look at your gear. First things first. Now, I have regeneration on this one. This character got to the point where I could put regeneration on the thing. And at the time, I guess when I was playing this character, and then this is a save file from December of 2023. The key was, yeah, he just regenerates outside of combat. We can't do it yet because I just don't have sterile nanotubes, but I strongly recommend this one because it slowly regenerates O2 in zero. So this is regenerating your O2. This one here, like I said, this was, regenerates health outside of combat. Great, but actually not really helpful with real O2 involved, right? So on temperate planets, fine. So, but until then, you're really going to rely heavily on the purge and the reserve, the emergency reserves, and that's how it's going to be. The other thing is on your suit, and it really does actually become very it becomes very important. Now, as you can see, I have a ballistic shielding, explosive shielding, heavy shielding, and then I can actually put gravatic composites on there. That helps with stealth. If I'm not mistaken, which one is it? Okay, so you can't do anything here. I kind of recommend, if you can, one of these two would be, like right now I have what do I have already enabled? I have Beast Hunter, so minus 15 damage from alien enemies is beneficial, but if I can put it somewhere, even if I don't put it on here, but then I can find something that I'm wearing, right? Piece of clothing. This one has bolstering. Okay, right here. I'm wearing a cape right now. So if I can put that O2 filter on the cape, right? That is also doing what the Heliox is going to do. But, hey, the more, the better, right? And then I don't have any other with this character. If I can change the lining, I would. I could probably, nope, can't add it. And then probably some of these things I can't add. Well, I can't add because I don't have the textile perk too. So those are the things. Oh, can I add something here? Let's just put that on there, and then I will be equipping that as well. So now I'm looking for my actual, where is it? I'm looking for my not the helmet, spacesuit. Here it is. Okay. So now, right now we have optimized servos in slot 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch that out for hypercure sealant, right? Now, what happens is, and what you're going to find out is, when you're out there and you're in combat and as you're getting shot, your suit's losing oxygen with each one. So this sealant here is going to slow that down and counter that. So that's another important thing to put on there. So before going out, if you can, and you have all these things where your character's able to do it, because remember, let's go back here real quick. In order to get that suit, in order to get this, you need to have your spacesuit mods 2, right, fully up, and then you just need to have the resources available to add that to your suit. So if you don't, then you're gonna get some, I'm not saying that it's going to be hard, but it's going to be harder. Okay, so now, one of the other things too, like I said, I was going to do is, I didn't realize I didn't have that equipped, was the backpack. So this is what my character is wearing, right? Infiltrator suit, number 2, a Vroon cape and a Vroon backpack, and then actually Crimson Fleet gloves, and then also a UC UC hat. Okay, so and then you can see the spacesuit and helmet, right? All UC gear. Um, so those are the things you definitely need to get squared away or situated before going out into any zero oxygen environment once you put real O2 on your game. Real quick here, we're going to jump back in. We're just going to look at our creations list. Okay. And we're going to go, and hopefully I can get right to them pretty quickly. So we can see some of the write-up from the mod pages. A lot of times you can just see it right here. You don't actually have to go back and get to the mod page. All right, so real O2. So basically, mod revolves around 2 basic systems, a reserve and a drain. And then now, me personally, is it takes a little getting used to, because like when I first put it on, I said the first thing I noticed and my first main concern was that it uses the same systems, same mechanics as your fatigue and your encumbrance mechanics. When you're over encumbered, what does it do? It drains O2 when you're trying to move. When you run, what does it do to show that you're out of stamina? It drains your O2 down. And the thing that I was most concerned about and was that's the same mechanic that real O2 is using when you're on a zero atmosphere, zero oxygen atmosphere planet. So now if you run on one of those, you're depleting your oxygen. And then since it's zero O2 atmosphere, it isn't replenishing back. And the way around that is that you need to have the scrubbers. Well, it's going to be a while, and you have to before you have the mod pack too, because you need um pack mods too, and you also need, as you can see, you have the resources and sterile nanotubes. They're just not laying around all over the place. So you have to have those. And if you don't, you're going to find yourself in tricky situations where you're burning oxygen is, quicker than you normally do. And you're like, oh my God, it's not going to replenish. And then you have to really pay attention to when you're running, sprinting, jumping, or if you're over encumbered and you're like, okay, I don't have that replenishment going on, because it's not. Okay. And you only will see that once you have all the necessary tools together. And then again, we're going to see it because we don't have the scrubbers attached. We're going to, hopefully some other things that we do have is going to help, but I really anticipate going out there and seeing, like, if I decide to run, I'm going to be depleted. So that's why, like I said, as much as you can carry with the emergency reserves, carry them, especially when you first put it on and decide to go. The second mod that we're going to look at, and for the do's and don'ts, and you have to forgive me, this stupid earpiece keeps getting pulled out of my ear. Okay, so now also with it's the 2 here. So I have the Cassiopeia Papyrus extender patch, right? And that means I also have the extender um, loaded as well. The real fuel. Now, it does go pretty detailed here, right? On the page, and there's a lot of information here, right? And one of the things It talks about, tips and tricks. The key thing is right here. You can craft your ship fuel from helium-3, right? The key is the ship will use helium-3 to replenish itself. So that's not a necessary step that you really have to do. The key is every chance you got, buy helium-3 and store it. Every chance you got. That is number one tip. Every time you find you can scavenge it, buy it or whatever, you get that helium-3 and you store it on your ship. Now, they do, it says right here, to make it into ship fuel, because since carrying large amounts of helium-3 in your hold can be dangerous in ship combat. You take that risk, okay? That's on you. But I haven't really seen any major problem, and I again, ship fuel, helium-3, I am carrying tons of it. The siphon panel, that's where I have issue. I don't know that it really works as great as it's supposed to, and I'm not 100% pleased with it. But then I'm not 100% pleased with, the sit to add ship to your fleet, because you start to have issues there. All right. Now, the one thing, and I'm looking to see if we can see, I know on the page itself, he does talk about the calculation and how the calculation can be off. You have to really, I have big disagreements with that, because one, I don't like the fact that the calculation is off, right? It's like, figure it out, get it on point, you know. But I also disagree with the statement that it can be slightly off. And if anybody's been watching my playthroughs and watching, they can see that I'll call it out from time to time. I'll call out. And then, like, one time I called out, it was said, okay, it says it's going to take 98 fuel to make this jump. And then when we jump, I came back and I said, but it took 394. I'm like, wait a minute, is that 4 times as much? You know what I'm saying? Is that almost 4 times as much fuel that it said? And then it's like, but did it? And then so it's like, which one's off? Which calculation is wrong? The required amount or how much it took? And that's where you run into an issue. And then I will say this, right? Don't let that detract or deter you away from using the mod. It's just something that you need to be very aware of and very cognizant of, right? And I think that's where it becomes kind of a thing where you need to decide, how much off is okay and what can I do to just make it so that it doesn't matter how much it's telling me, how much fuel, because I need to, you know, carry around a certain amount and make sure. And, but again, depending on your ship, depending on what point you are in the game, you may not have a ship with 600 units of fuel. You may only have 50 or 100. And that makes whether you're going to jump or not very significant. So now, all that said, the key here is, all right, just wanted to get up to so the key there is this: in your cargo hold, right, for resources. And again, you can do that. I only have 70 helium in my cargo hold for resources. The hope there is that is enough to at least get me back to civilization if I find myself stranded, right? Under consumables. I have ship parts, but you don't see ship fuel here. And then I do have a reserve emergency if I want to just. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull that out. So I got 5 now in my inventory. But you see, I don't have ship fuel here. I have a ton of food here because I have spacefaring economy. And so now my crew eats. And so I need to have food there for them to eat. But again, so I don't have any ship fuel. I could probably convert a lot of that. Well, actually, not a lot. I think you need 40 helium to make 1 ship fuel canister. So I could make 1, right? But that's it. So as I'm going to, explore, and one of the things that I'm going to do here is we're going to go, and I think I'm going to make the medical delivery first. Deliver 3 bandages. Okay, we're not going to do that yet. The reason I'm not doing it because I'm like, wait a minute. That means I have to deliver my bandages to that place. And Karen nope. Let's see. Repair at Endem. Fuel repair. Nope. I don't want to do that one. We're going to look at Tau. No, Tau Ceti is pretty much. F it. We're going to do this. All right. So we're right now at Sithonia. That's an extreme environment, and I don't believe there's any O2. So if we wanted to, we could land there, but as far as I can tell, there's nothing, there. Yeah, so we're not going to worry about that. All right, so let's come on out, and let's look at, let's see. Where do we want to go? Maybe we'll go over to Endem. What's this over here? Fuel platform. Hey, all right, so this might be a good one. Let's go to Endem 1. Scorched, thin CO2. Let's set course. So, right off the bat, let's look. And this is great. All right, so for real fuel, it's telling us right there 51.00 fuel consumption to get there. So we're going to jump. Once we landed, interstellar travel available. Real fuel is now running. I'm going to say acknowledge. We're going to say continue. Show tutorials. All right. God dang it. Okay. I wish there was a delay for Watchtower. So unfortunately, what we're going to do is we're going to open fire. And we're just going to YOLO it. Maybe we can take one out. All right, so they just hit us. All right, so just for the sake of not bombarding you guys with a whole bunch of extra stuff that you don't need to see, once we're done with the conversation, I'll be back. All right, so now we're back. We did use the opportunity to board the remaining Watchtower vessel, and unfortunately we, sad to add ship to fleet, right? So if we look at our ship, you can see our fleet consists of 3 ships, the Frontier and the Star Eagle. And as you can see, it didn't work to add the other ship. It blew up. But one of the things that we will notice is it was supposed to take 51 units of fuel. Look at our fuel. We can't tell how much fuel we actually, that we actually have, but we know it's way less than half, almost a third, but it looks like about 40% of our fuel is left. So either the calculation was way off and it took about, let's see, since we have 40%, right? So 120, 130 fuel left. So was that, right? No, my bad. So 260 fuel left, right? And so was that 370 that it took? That's about 7 times as much fuel, more than 7 times as much fuel as it projected. So, but then again, it could have been that we tried to sit and add, the ship to fleet. And by doing so, that took some of our fuel and put it onto the new ship. And that was something I guess I screwed up and didn't look at. I'm looking for extreme environment. I don't want temperate. This says thin CO2, right? But it is not telling us that it doesn't have oxygen. So we're going to jump around and we're going to look at Helium-3B. And it's cold atmosphere is standard O2 atmosphere. So, and then we can deliver that's where we got to deliver our bandages. So we're going to come back here and we're going to look at this guy over there, scan. It's a deep freeze, atmosphere none, extreme environment. And yeah, we're going to set course and see what happens when we going over there. So right now though, we're down more than half our fuel and we didn't even, oh my God. And I haven't set the low. I even purposely reset the what's name. Okay. So what this really means is we got to get out of this system. We can't go anywhere else in the system and get out of there. And did you see the number of ships that spawned in? I don't want to go to Lunara. Let's go to Aborum Prime. And unfortunately, that is actually quite annoying.
All right. Aging Deimos monsters. Built like tanks, but well past their warranty. It's gonna take hours to fix this, if we can get the engine back online at all.
Well, I can try to help you with the repairs.
Sorry, company policy is only employees are allowed on the ship. If you step foot on here, I'm out of a job. I got a hot package that's paid for expedited delivery. They'll dock my pay if it doesn't get to its destination. Star Parcel will reward you well if you can assist.
Yeah, send it on over.
Excellent. All you need to do is Drop this off to the ship services technician on New Atlantis.
New
They'll take
Atlantis,
it
huh?
from there. Thanks for bailing me out of this nightmare.
Hey, no problem. You can buy me a drink sometime. My wife won't mind. I'm about to say, is my grav drive down? Okay, so we got that. This star station, we're not going to worry about it right now, but this is part of Tiny Reasons explore space. So first things first, let's look this up and see what we got. So thin atmosphere, thin, but it's not. It's temperate, so we're not going to worry about that one. I don't think any of the other ones are actually. Well, we can check the moons. Scan. Standard. It's cold. All right. Let's check you out. Scan. Deep freeze, no atmosphere. All right. Stream environment. So, wait, hold on. Yes. All right. Let's get on over here. Weren't we supposed to be landing here? Frozen plains. Frozen plains. Okay, so argon and water. All right, please, can I land? All right, frozen atmosphere. Or frozen planet, no atmosphere. All right, and look at that. Look at that. That is.
Please disregard.
Hey.
I attempted an informal greeting, but
That's
I
Vasco.
is satisfied with the results.
Wow. All right, so we look at the vehicle cargo, and there's nothing in it. Right. We are gonna jump in and drive around a little bit just to show. Well, that's not really our focus, but we're gonna drive around, look at the planet a little bit. Unfortunately, do I have, what's her name? You can see, oops. All right. Why am I wearing, oh, hold on a second. I require something. I want to know what's going on with my character. Okay, so first of all, this is hell. There is no atmosphere here. I know for a fact there is none. I've never had another character land here and not need all the stuffs. As you could see, the shake, that isn't just there. It is. That's why you see the shake. Why you saw the shake. There's terramorphs all over the place. This planet in Eridani 4 with the mod is like the two worst planets in the universe. Right? And all it is, this planet is just constant alien creatures battling each other, and they will come after you, and there's terramorphs galore on this planet. So I don't know. Alright. So alright. I gotta load a different character because this one is immune to oxygen depleted environments. He is just fine. And then maybe, and again, you know, fuck. All right, so yes, we found ourselves an opportunity. You saw the message right at the top of the screen. Keep an eye on your chronomark because of O2 and everything. So now we are on a planet with no atmosphere, no O2. And then, so one of the things now, this character, we do have what's called the scrubbers attached to our pack. So we had to go get a different character. For some reason, the character that we were trying to do this with basically had no issues. Had no issues. So as you can see, our pack has oxygen reserve, experimental scrubbers, and then it's a balanced boost pack. So that is highly recommended for your pack with your character. Now you can see with the suit we have hypercure sealant, right? So we get shot, you know, we're not going to leak O2 there. And then with the helmet, you can see we didn't really, but we could have put, I believe, oxygen reserve on the helmet as well. I have to think about that. I don't remember but you can see that's what so the helmet's pretty normal. And then real quick, and then what's going to end up changing is in our consumables. We haven't really done what I said to do. So this one is going to take over there. That one's going to take over there. And then that one's going to be very important. So these three are the very important ones to have loaded. Now, they won't be as needed, especially the reserves, because we're going to run and you're going to see how it works when you have a pack that has the scrubbers on it. So you can see the oxygen is depleting, but then when we stop and just walk around, we should see it come back a little bit, but you can see the CO2 is not building yet. Okay. Let's look around and see what we got. So this should be what? Pipeline substation, science outpost. What do we got around us? See if there's anything we can go visit. Something over here. Military post. It's just going to be a cave. There's our Rev 8. Communication station. Abandoned mine. Steel-clad bastion. Science outpost. And off in the distance, there's a couple of things. Crystal crater. Okay. You can see our CO2 now is starting to build. All right. And let's see what I should have done, and then what I'm going to do real quick here is let's do this. All right, so you can see we only have the one pack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into our ship's inventory. I'm going to grab a different pack. This is just a basic boost pack. So I'm going to grab that out of our ship. I'm going to come over here, and then I'm going to switch it out. Okay. Okay. It's going to take a minute. But now you can see my O2 is different, and we're just walking around, right? And you see it's way more depleted. It's not really recovering. The CO2 hasn't built up yet. We're going to get in and drive a little bit. We'll pick up some minerals. Basically, go shopping for a minute. Now you can see in the vehicle now, our O2 has replenished. And that is something that if you have a vehicle and you're able to drive around, you'll see that a lot. One of the things though, just keep in mind, it will not erase your CO2 buildup. And in truth, I do not believe it will reduce it either. Like, it might slow it down. It might. But that's it. That's the best you can hope for. Oh, this is the regular buggy too. So this is the Rev 8. Which is cool, but what is this? Communication station. Wait, unknown is the ship landing site. What is this thing? Who's this over here? Arc mic worker. Wow, that is cool. Okay. So now we're just going to drive around a little bit. You see our CO2, even in the buggy, is building up now. It's just happening much slower. All right, so where was the one thing that we were looking at that I wanted, that caught my eye? Research station. That's a good one. So we got it. Now the cool part is, you see we're getting helium, right? So to me, that's just the coolest thing. You know? So the planet's 100% surveyed. All we had to do is just drive around. All right, she doesn't like it when we crash into stuff. This is not the vehicle you want to have to fight with them. And that's kind of why we ran a little bit, because I'm gonna shut this down. Let's get out. Sarah? All right. Now you can see outside the vehicle, it does change the look of our Chronomark 2 so we can get a little bit more in depth, a little bit more close up view. All right. And then so watch. Now when we run and we're depleting our oxygen, and we stop, okay, and then like I said, the concern that I had was that, well, how's it going to replenish? There's no oxygen, it's not drawing any, and then since we don't have the scrubbers, you know, is it ever going to come back? Where's our buggy's over there. Just keep that in mind. All right. And then so now what we're doing is, with all the stuff equipped, you can see everything is working together to minimize the CO2 buildup and also to try to reduce the O2 depletion. It's still depleting, but not as much. And then if we run real quick. So again, like I said, as much as you can get on your character or get for your character, do it. But then when you get back here and you get into the buggy, we're just going to drive around a little bit. You can see the oxygen is starting to replenish itself. Oh wait, let me show you this. All right, so it's going to replenish. Oh, Sarah didn't like that. Sarah did not like that. It's going to replenish, but it's really not going to knock down whatever the CO2 buildup. When you go back onto your ship, that will. Okay. All right. Let's get some fighting. He can't stay on his feet, which is fine with me. Where are they? I don't even know what Sarah's rocking right now, what she's fighting with, but whatever it is pretty cool. It's doing the work. I think she took another one out. Not getting. What am I? Oh god, I gotta get my loadout real quick here. Med packs. Where are you? Okay. Yeah, you're right there. All right, so you're just not working. Oh, I lost it. So just look for the fire, right? Okay, so even though we're not experiencing like a major loss of O2, we are losing some, right? And the reason for that is because of all the things that we do have. Now, let me show you something. As soon as we finish looting this young lady right here, excuse me, we're going to come back in here, go in here, and we're going to re-equip. Oh. Now, I'm afraid part of that we saw just happen was because of the unequipping, re-equipping, right? What was this? Whoa. God dang it. Am I wearing a balanced pack? Balanced. So what was that all about? Uh-oh. So the one thing that I need, I don't have, huh? Did I have a dislocated limb? So you can see, even with the scrubbers, we're still getting the buildup of CO2. It just is supposed to happen slower. And then here's the other thing too. I may have screwed up in switching in and out the boost pack. You know. Where's our... Okay. But one thing that we can rely on, and just so you can see it actually work. So the purge valve gets rid of the CO2. And then the reserves. So, and then that's a one-time, it's a one-time use on the reserves. So it'll fill you back up. And that's it. Now the purge valve is reusable. So you just need to make one and you can use it over and over again. Just don't make the mistake that I make in where I make one and then I keep throwing it on my ship. And then next thing you know, I use it once and then I get over encumbered. And then next thing you know, I'm tossing it back on my ship. And I'm like, God dang it. You know, now, fortunately, even though I throw it on my ship, you know, I have access from anywhere, so I can always get it back right now. when you're on a planet with no oxygen, right? Fast travel is disabled. When you're on a planet where you do have oxygen, try not being a side seat driver. Okay? Alright. We're going to head back to the ship, and then we're going to head out into space. Now, we've had a chance to see real fuel work a bit already, but we want to just take a look at one more calculation. Now, me personally, I really like the vehicle. I just wish we could have more than just the one passenger. And then so with Real O2, right, as soon as we get back on our ship, and you can see everything replenishes, and then we're back to ourselves.
What's up? Yes?
Emily Archer. Oh, gosh. Okay, Emily.
Hey, Captain.
We gotta get some clothes for one of our favorite crew members. All right, yeah, we'll talk to you in a little bit. All right, so. Goodness gracious. All right. So. That is sad. Okay, so when we are looking to travel, right? And we're just in the Wolf system here. But say we want to head over to Altair. Now, it's going to tell us, right? One last time, we want to look at this, right? This is a different ship. So, and it's a different save. So we just want to see what it's going to say, right? Just be prepared. Watchtower is going to pop its ugly head up any moment now. Any moment. This save, we have not gone through the Watchtower stuff. And there it is. So, hold on one sec. Okay, now that that's over, we're going to jump again over to Bernard's star. And the reason why is because we didn't get to see how much fuel was expended, so we're gonna give it another try, see what's happening. Really, because what we're just looking to see is how much fuel it says it needs and how much fuel it actually burns. And with the understanding, it said 17.9 was actually used, so that was relatively close to what the calculation is. Whoa. Guy's trying to get away. Really? For who? Alright. My main goal isn't really about boarding or landing any place. Right. So next stop, we're gonna jump over to Procyon. All right. So it's saying 30.5 fuel. And it said it used only 25.5 fuel. All right, so now let's look at our ship, and we can see, yeah, we have about 300 fuel left in our ship, so it hasn't burned up a lot. So it is what it is, right? So it does vary, and there's sometimes where the calculation says it used up so much, and then sometimes, like you said, the calculation said it was going to need this much, but it only used this much, actually less than what it was supposed to. I think it was like it was supposed to use 30 and it only used 25. And we can see here it didn't use up a lot of our fuel. So the do's and don'ts, especially when it comes to real fuel, is this: make sure you understand that calculation is going to vary, and it's not always going to be as accurate as we would like it to be, and it's not always going to pinpoint exactly how much fuel is truly being burned. The key, though, is to make sure you always have enough in reserves, and that you're not going to find, so when you do find yourself in a situation where you might be hurting, the other savior that you have, right now, this is Iconic Liquids, is if you can find a planet in this area with Helium-3 on it. That, now you can see our character's advanced enough that we can scan planets from, anywhere. And there we have it. So, and then if we needed to, we could come over here, land, and start mining helium if we needed to, if we really got down to it and got very desperate. But the key is you want to keep helium in your hold. It says not a whole lot because it is combustible. But then if you can convert it to ship fuel and keep it in your hold, I guess that would be the recommendation. And then me personally, the siphoning mechanic, I'm not 100%. I don't know why I went to the party cruise. As soon as I saw it was the party cruise, I should have just said screw that. I don't want it.
We're having a great time, I'm telling you.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care.
Alright, no worries. Have a good one.
Alright, wait. That's not what I wanted. I wanted here. Okay. So we can see this is a planet we were already at. And then that's the party cruise. And then you got a couple of black market signal, so we can come down here and then scan this one. But at no point would we be in trouble with fuel in this system, at least, right? And that's the key, right? You want to hope that at least whatever system, if you do find yourself and you pop into a system and it says, hey, you're a little low, and then you'll say, okay, well, is there a planet in the system with helium on it? And more than likely there should be. I would say the chances are pretty high. So you just have to, cross your fingers and say, hey, okay, here we go. What's this one? Copper and water. Okay. So, that is my take on both Real O2 and Real Fuel. I enjoy having them on my mod list and, playing with them. Again, it's kind of like you have to get past a certain expectation, and there's certain things you have to just I want to say accept. And again, it sticks in the back of my head, and I notice it every time, or just about every time when it does it, especially when I know I am about to jump to another system, and I know what the kind of expected amount of fuel I need in order to jump. And then when I get there, it's told me something completely different. And yes, randomly you will jump from one system to another with about 60-70% fuel in your tanks. And then you'll get there, and the next thing you know, boom, you have less than 20% fuel left. And you'll be like, what? And I gotta be honest with you, if you can let it go, right? Because, it's not giving you the accurate information, but you let that go, then all of a sudden it's now it's a crisis to manage, and it's something else. It's an added effect there, and you're like, oh my God, okay, what am I gonna do? And then you have to plan around it. You're like, yeah, okay. I jumped over here and I was expecting this, and I got this. And so me, I don't know. It's a nice addition. And then the Real O2, and even though the two characters that I was trying to show it with, and the one character that we were able to see it on, they were both higher level. With low level, Real O2 takes a lot, and you have to be very, very aware of what your character's O2 is at, where it's at all the time. Because until you can get those added things on, those added pieces on your gear, then you're going to be strongly reliant on these three items. So, yeah, very much so, right? Very much so. And so right off the bat, as soon as you put that on in your playlist or in your mod list, these three you got to be able to manufacture and have with you all the time, especially this one and this one. The Heliox, yeah, it helps, but the other two, because those mitigate, one helps and the other two actually helps to fixes the issue, right? Because you're going to find yourself without oxygen and you need to replenish it. And then you're going to find yourself so full of, CO2, right? You need to get rid of it. So those two, yeah, they're big. And then when you can finally get the experimental scrubbers on your pack and the hypercure sealant on your suit, and trust me when I say, you don't realize just how much this hypercure sealant, well, from what we saw, you can't see exactly how important it is with a low level character. And then I should, right? You're in a fight, and you're getting tagged, and the next thing you know, your oxygen's gone and your CO2 is up, and you're like, what happened? And the next thing you're like, I gotta hold on, time out, I need to get this fixed, right? And there's been numerous fights that I've been in where I'm suffocating by the end of it because I'm either concentrating on the fight or you're concentrating on your breathing, right? And then most likely you're trying to survive the fight. So by the end of the fight, you're jumping around, moving around. You've been shot many a times. You done lost all your oxygen. Your CO2 is built up completely. And next thing you know, you're like, oh my God. And if you don't have anything, it's a race to see if you can get back to your ship before you die. And I've actually been in a couple of situations where I am not spamming, but I am hitting the med packs like every 5 to 10 seconds because that's just how much I'm dying at that point, and I'm suffocating. And the med packs are keeping me alive, but I'm still not able to breathe. So, and then you get to your ship, and then, you're just hoping, yes, everything corrects itself. But like I said, they are two very interesting mods that when you put on into your mod list, they do add in a variety of stuff. And then with my list, there's so many other things in there, but they stand out. And those additional pieces that I have really play. The cool part is they play well together. Out in the Blackness adds that one thing to your ship, so that when you're here and then you tell it that you have a fuel mod enabled, then you can just go here and do your stuff, right? This isn't normally here, but then what's nice is you can see your fuel supply. So we got 311 out of 420, right? And then we got 62. See, so it's nice that it tells you that, right? We do have some helium in our cargo. It doesn't tell you what ship fuel you have in your cargo, but I know in a couple of the fights, we've probably pulled in some ship fuel. And there it is. So we have these as well. So we've got helium, we've got some ship fuel that we pulled in, and you can see this one here, the refine, adds 125 helium to your ship's fuel tank. So we got 2 of those, and this one only adds 50, and we got 1 of those. So we're not hurting if the calculation isn't 100%, and we find ourselves, we jump into a system and then all of a sudden it says you have less than, you have 0% fuel left. What? But that's because we are prepared for it. But I have been in that situation and really, yes, had to find a planet within the system that has helium on it and go down and get land on it and get helium. Even one time I actually created an outpost just to mine helium, right there and on the spot. So no, they're good additions, and I want to say that my transition to putting them in my mod list was rough at first. And I'm very hard on new things, and I'm very demanding. So the very first thing I had to get past was the calculation in real fuel. And then in real O2, it's just a matter of getting used to it, right? Especially like I said, if you're not used to it and you haven't prepped everything and you don't have everything you need, and next thing you know, you find yourself, especially with Dark Star game overhaul, where you're getting swarmed by enemies, so you're getting tagged left and right, and you're trying to fight and run and jump around, and you forget all that movement and everything like that is expending a great deal of O2 and of oxygen. And so what do you end up with? You know what I mean? So next thing you know, you're out of breath and you're like, and you hear that and you go, what happened? And you're like, oh, you're getting shot. One, right? So your suit's leaking. And then two, you're running around and you're jumping and you're trying to, and you're crouched and then, you know what I mean? You're bleeding. And then so all those things together, you're sitting there like, wow, okay. Oh, okay. All right. So now I got to get used to that. So it is a bit to get used to and prepare for. And I think this is the way I change my game, and to make it more difficult without making it so that, because I don't like the mods that, like, I don't like the royal the royal mods, and I don't like NASA Punk, and I don't like the mods that reduce the number of hit points to the point where, I know you don't, it's a pain for bullet, nobody likes bullet sponge enemies and things like that, but it's like, I don't want to get into a fight and then 3 shots in I'm dead. If I want to do that, then I'll go play Call of Duty where I'm respawning all the time. In this kind of game, that's not the whole point. The whole point of the game isn't to respawn. You die, it's significant, because you know what I mean. You're not in a map. You die, you respawn at whatever point you're supposed to, and then you go back into the fight. Here, unless you're constantly saving, you die, boom, you go all the way back to the last save point. And so, I mean, yeah, you can say, well, the point is then don't die. Well, if you make it so that the game is going to, allow for 1-shot kills, then yeah, you're going to die, and so I'm not advocating for like making yourself or your enemies bullet sponges. I don't like that either, but it's like we got to figure out ways to make the game more difficult without the bullet sponginess, but then without the dying every 2 seconds or 3 seconds, so it's a slippery slope. You're still trying to do those things. So what I do is I find mods like these to add to my game, to add in more realism, add in a lot more stuff to enhance and up the difficulty level, but I'm still not looking to make my game overly difficult, right? I'm not one of those people that need the game to be as hard as possible in order to find enjoyment in it. As a matter of fact, what I need is for the game to allow me to do the things I want, so that I can use my imagination and use, my, my creativity to decide how my character's doing, interacting with the world, and how the game is going along. And so, yeah, so that's it. So, hey guys, I know this is just my quick do's and don'ts for Real O2 and Real Fuel. And then we'll be back at it. I still have to wrap up, do part 2 for the 2 Rios mods. Not Rios mods, but Rios videos. Each one I'm going to do a part 2, because I think what I want to do is not just show, the character creation, the roll your own start, but all the way through to the point of going through and finishing up the the tutorial mod for Constellation, right? So basically delivering the artifact and joining Constellation. So we want to take it all the way through to that point. And so we want to do both and show that. And then and then with the first one, with the pedestrian start out of Sidonia, I had to, and then I'm probably gonna end up doing it again and showing it, but I had to actually go when I made the mistake of trying to pay it off while I was in Neon, and so when I came back to Sidonia, the ship went and left, and then I had to get on a shuttle, go all the way back to Neon, redo it, and then that's when the ship appeared. So I'm like, God dang it. So it does work, but you just gotta be careful about that, right? It's tricky. And then as you'll see with the ship owner start, that one, it's just it is what it is. And so we'll see. We'll get those out, and then we'll jump back in with some more Finn and some more Rona, and and it's just funny to me though, because I don't know how you guys are, but and let me know in the comments, how many characters have you created, how many playthroughs have you started, right? One of the most fun parts about the game is the start. Creating your character, getting yourself immersed in the world. But then when you go back in and you pick up a character and then you see what this character's done so far, and then you're playing with it, like this one here is like, I don't want to stop, and it's like that with every character. It's like, I understand this character is level 80, it's she's done all this and this and this, but there's still more for her to do, and then I don't want to stop with her, I don't want to leave her. And then you're like, okay, I jump in with this guy, and it's like, yeah, I want to just build him up too. And what I find funny is, most interesting are the characters that I originally had and were playing with back in 2023, the end of 2023 and early into 2024, before Bethesda finally came out with the creations and the creation kit and all that, its updates. And so it's very interesting and it's cool to see what you did up to that point with the limited stuff that you had. And so, it's funny. Like I said, the one guy that we were just looking at earlier, Roland, his save was 2023, so December of 2023. So that was only 4 months in to the game, and then so to see where he was and then all he had done, and then it's like, yeah. So yeah, let me know how many characters you guys have created. I've created so many, it's just ridiculous. And again, every time I jump into with one, I'm like, I don't want to leave. I want to keep going. I want to see where this one goes, And then so that's where we're at, guys. Again, I appreciate you, and we'll talk soon. All right, you guys have a good night. Later.